So, in this week's Creative Confidence Catch Up, I've got Kerry. So, Kerry, would you like to tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, I am Carey Corr. I am a screenwriter and a movie director, and I'm the CEO of a new movie tech startup called Connected Pictures, where we're using technology to do the movie business in a completely different way. And that will allow us to do content in a different way. Our movie content is to engage, entertain, and dare I say, enlighten. But what I mean by that is um, raise awareness of people and open the door for that because it's my firm belief that art in all its forms open humans in a way that they seek to figure out what we're doing here in existence and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and and so we're furthering that where we're creating a community to talk about that. So my
I love that.
films have that essence in them, and then when people are open, they have a place to go.
Yeah, brilliant. So, yeah, this leads on to my first question then. So, obviously, you're in this sort of film sort of industry space. Do you think, like confidence is a key part of being able to share a story and or put it out there to the world?
Sure. I mean, confidence is in your own belief that your story comes through you in a way that only you can do it. So your authentic self is there. So
Mhm.
I know when and I am connected to my authentic self in storytelling, then I have confidence that it reaches people. I don't know how many people, and I don't care because the outcomes don't matter. But how that is, what I have to say moves through me, and I can present that to the world. So, and that does take confidence, but it also means being connected to what you're really trying to say.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So at the moment then, how would you define your confidence then? Like, has there ever been a point in your life where maybe you didn't have much confidence and then suddenly you gained it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yes, I've had my ups and downs with this business of storytelling in all of its forms that I have participated in. And you can either learn from what's happened and take that forward, or you can be crushed by it. And I've had both.
Mhm.
And so now, though I truly understand um, the value of having gone through those things, and so my confidence is it's as solid as my connection to my authentic self. But it took the journey of going through those downs as they're perceived as downs. So now I don't perceive them as downs, so I only perceive them as learning opportunities or steps on the path that provided something I would never have had to get where I'm at now.
Yeah, I love that. I totally get what you mean. If we've been through a bad stage in our lives, we usually appreciate the good when we do get it. And I suppose if we didn't go through that, then it'd be hard to kind of have that gratitude for what we have.
Yeah, I mean, that is definitely my perspective. I like to frame it as contrast,
Hmm.
like art and film and contrast. There's a contrast and you can't see one without the other.
Hmm.
It's hard to see
Definitely.
things without the contrast to know
Yeah.
which one is which, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, so in terms of the connection and connecting with people who resonate with your message, how are you finding LinkedIn at the moment since we connected on there?
Yeah, I am not by nature a networker in any way, shape, or form, right? So, but what I have come to understand is that that's I'm not really networking, I'm connecting
Hmm.
with people because I am in a state of understanding and on a journey to bring that understanding to the world. So if I
Hmm.
put that out there, then that's my authentic truth. So people just almost magically through synchronicities show up and we connect. And
Yeah.
so I've had a lot of that on LinkedIn, a lot.
I
Yeah.
love that. Like that,
Mhm.
I suppose having that sort of common ground as well, isn't it? So if the more we've got like a common ground and things like that, we're gonna like resonate with other people's stories, and that's how we get connected. Rather than like, and when you keep going on about like authentic stuff, so important, isn't it? If we are popping messages about or popping a story out that kind of doesn't really link to our true selves, we won't get the right people being attracted to what we've got to say. The more we speak our truth and like what we're really interested in, the right people will come to us, don't they?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. Absolutely true. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's been my experience. So that's why I say it's absolutely
Mm.
true. But I guess that's my perspective.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
But it's interesting though. I always found like when I initially went on LinkedIn, I've been on LinkedIn for ages, but then I made a new profile once my practice and stuff started changing a bit. But don't you find, or when you originally went on LinkedIn, did you think it was going to be a place where it's going to be a lot of business people in suits and it'd be like really hard to form those connections?
Yeah. So I'd been on LinkedIn for a long time as well.
Hmm.
And that is actually what I initially got, was all of that, because that's, I guess my perspective was there. It was around a project that I was doing before I really understood what I was doing.
Hmm.
And that was, it was meant to be transactional. And so I went there with the idea of it being transactional to help that project find distribution, all this,
Hmm.
all this stuff. But and nothing happened, so I didn't come back to LinkedIn until my perspective about what I was doing shifted. And
Hmm.
then suddenly, I updated what I'm doing, and and now now so I suppose it's good for both, only I'm not in that other camp. So
Mm-hmm. I love that.
yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
So, talking about community then, and like obviously the world of LinkedIn, because to be honest, I always find that LinkedIn, once you find the right people, obviously it does become a community of people and people who are mutuals and things like that. So, can you tell us maybe a bit about so I find LinkedIn, it can be really powerful in not only sharing your own messages, but resonating with that of others as well. So just recently I got speaking to Mitsuhiro, I think his name is. I'm not quite sure
Yes.
how to pronounce it, so I do apologize. But yeah, so through our conversation, we were chatting, and funnily enough, he mentioned yourself. So maybe can you tell us a bit about how you can share a bit of his story, just because he said he can't translate it on a podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I love Mitsuhiro, and we've only had exchanges through LinkedIn, but we both are, well, when I first came back to LinkedIn, he's one of the first people who resonated with what I was talking about. And then he shared with me that although he's not a director, he's a writer,
Ah,
he's
okay.
doing something similar, telling a story um, about finding authentic self. Um, he'll call it a spiritual story,
Mm-hmm.
spiritual filmmaking, which
Wow.
I agree with, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't put it that way, because our our films are kind of different, and or what I'm trying to do is a little bit different, in that I can use my experience as a storyteller to reach people who maybe don't understand that or don't know what that means. And so in a way, I don't want to scare people away with the woo woo words, right?
I get you. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But we're doing the same work, and Mitsuhiro and I both we just share a lot of stuff. But anyway, we just had a lot of journey experience that's very similar, and of life, and even though it's completely different because it's each our paths, and we've just shared that with each other. So he's trying to create a film in Japan about um,
That's so cool.
that journey of his life where he learned forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't want to give too much of his
No,
story
no,
away,
that's great.
but it's important that, you know, he had suffered from being bullied and things when he was young, and he had some moments that it took him maybe years to figure out that were opened him and kept him going
Hmm.
through those things, but he didn't understand what they were. So now he's retelling that story from that perspective. And so, and I've read some of what he's written already, and yeah, it's an amazing story about, you know, connection and to forgiveness and to being fearless and to living in the moment and moving beyond these things that
Oh,
happen to us. Yeah. Yeah. And
yeah.
then so my company, Connected Pictures, we have, as I said before, we have a platform
Hmm.
for people to come. We're not quite launched yet, but in the pre-launch, I invited Mitsuhiro to come there and write posts and do stuff. So he's got a lot of interesting things on there. And then once we're launched, you can read his stuff along with all of my stuff and the characters and how we're doing movies in a completely new and different way. But his, so that's how I know a lot about him, and I know his stories, and
Yeah, he did
he's brought,
say, and I was
yeah,
like, "This is amazing how someone." It's like we might not be able to chat as we are, but the fact that like you know a bit about him, and then it's like that sort of community of then you being able to share his story. I think it's just it's such a really nice thing. Like, and the fact that it's always nice, like if people recommend you, isn't it? Or like, oh yeah, chat with that person, and they know about. It's amazing.
yeah. I've made many connections just from Mitsuhiro and well, and you're one, of course, but but there's just a lot of connectivity around that world, you know, um, because of what we spoke of before. When you're
Hmm.
connected to it, you
Yeah.
know, it has a certain energy that moves into the world of people who want that same thing, maybe in different ways. But
Mm.
that's all great. Yeah.
Definitely. So, my next question then, can you tell a bit about, can you tell us, sorry, can you tell us a bit about like maybe what you're working on currently then, a bit more into, yeah, maybe what we've just discussed.
Yeah. Yeah,
Hmm.
sure. Absolutely. So Connected Pictures is the big project I'm
Hmm.
working on, but within that, we'll be doing a movie I wrote, which will be the next project to direct, which is called Sing Your Song.
Hmm.
And uh, I mean, it's about finding authentic self, what we mean in the world. And someone, the lead character, learns to reshift his perspective, even though after many, actually a few decades of being stuck
Hmm.
in that world. And he finds out what his true value is. And there's a lot of music in it, and there's a lot of growth and community that happens in it, that through a lot of characters that sort of come, like we're talking about, get
Hmm.
drawn to him as he starts to move forward in the world. And so we're going to do that with our new business model, which is a completely new way that films can be made, and they can be made outside of the current systems, because the current systems can be difficult to try for storytellers. There's a lot of gatekeepers, there's a lot of stuff, and
Yeah.
it depends on what you're doing, and it depends on opinions. So we've found a way through technology. I have a partner, and he's a technology person. So we found through technology we're able to raise money, gain revenues in a whole new way, and then that removes anybody allowing, you know, not allowing you to make your film, right? And
Mm.
so
Yeah.
it's an interesting new frontier that we're we're going into and creating, and I'm very excited about it because it's going to help other filmmakers too once
That's,
we
that's
get up and
brilliant.
running and get our film through it, and then
Mm.
they'll be able to also do that, and they can do it even if they want to make a horror film or something. It just won't be connected to Connected Pictures because we have a theme and a feel, but the process, the business model can be used for anything, you know.
Mm.
And
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very excited about that because it's a struggle to find gatekeepers who can resonate with someone trying to tell a story and about certain things that they can't quite
Mm.
understand. Yeah, yeah.
And I bet in terms of like the film industry and stuff like that anyway, and like people sharing the stories, there can be a lot of what's the word, noise. So that obviously the people who are trying to get their sort of story out there can be lost amongst the noise. So then it's hard to find those people that then do resonate.
Yeah, that's right. I mean that's what Connected Pictures does, and the
Hmm.
business model. Part of what it does is we're growing our own community
Love
for
it.
people who understand that from all aspects of a movie, because one of the things that's completely forgotten by, I suppose, all films, whether it's independent or Hollywood or whatever, is that the audience are of the most valid or equally valued component of that thing. So why aren't we talking to them? Why aren't we allowing them in on everything from the start, including if they feel like it, getting a stake in the movie? I mean, there's, community audiences. It's film is a reflexive thing, right? We go there, even though we're sitting in a dark room watching this light on the thing, we get absolved into it. We absorb it. We get moved by it. We cry, we laugh, we jump, we get scared, all of those things, right? So that's a hugely valuable
Yeah.
component of what someone telling a story wants, right? So
Yeah.
I couldn't figure out one day after having written this script why we weren't connecting directly to people. Why doesn't film do that? And I mean they do it, but they do it transactionally, marketing, research, groups that watch a film and tell you whether it's good or not. This stuff is nonsense, right? Connection is it, because any movie that comes out is only going to reach whoever it reaches. I know Hollywood does a great job at marketing, and sometimes that kicks over to a lot more people maybe than would that have any interest in it seeing it. But they also have a lot of failures. There's a lot of bombs. So there's no answer, right? There's no real answer, except for me, is to connect with the people who might want to see what you're doing, their values, their opinions. It lines up with what they think, and then now through Connected Pictures, they can have a stake in the whole process and be along with it. And we can have conversations about how, not just how something I make moves them, but why this stuff moves us, and how that can push us forward on our journey so that we can better humanity.
It's great that you say that though, like when you were talking about him, yeah, in the way that you share a story, creativity in general. If there wasn't creativity to kind of air those stories and things like that, it it'd just be I find it'd be a very strange world. Like without the arts, without creativity, there'd be a real big gap, and everybody would be pretty bored, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I'll take that a step further. Humans are our our distinction is creativity, is
Hmm.
creating things. That's our
Yeah,
distinction. Whether it's creating a skyscraper, a train, a plane, a
everywhere.
spaceship, that's all we do. That's what we do. That's what differentiates us on this planet. So we that's just a simple truth that I don't think many people see,
No,
and
they
they don't
don't.
see it in themselves. They don't understand that creativity is not being able to draw or to write or that stuff. It's
That's just the surface, isn't it? It goes way deeper, doesn't it? Yeah.
Well, yeah, and way deeper and across the board, because what
Hmm.
gets confused is that it's not art that matters, it's creativity. It's not what you are comparing to what an artist does. I can't paint like Da Vinci, but that doesn't
Not
matter
me. I'm
because,
glad.
yeah,
That'd be difficult.
right, yeah. But what I'm saying is we each have a uniqueness
Yeah.
that's built on creativity, and that creativity can be anything from figuring a new way to create some food that's beautiful for your family, or just about anything that happens in humanity is creative. So we don't need the symbols and the labels of art or this and that, even though I use them because that's what they are. But the truth is, the resonation and to creativity, and creativity itself, in my opinion, is within everybody. So that is why we resonate with art,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's it. So it's a way to look beyond. That's what we're trying to do. Look beyond. Mitsuhiro is trying to do it. Look beyond these symbols and these labels to what that creativity that we're doing, our unique selves, his story, my stories, to how people can use that or connect with that to move me forward and to move themselves forward, and in so
Mm-hmm.
doing we move all of humanity forward.
Yeah. And it's like that, Tim. When people say, what's your definition of success? It's like that with creativity, isn't it? There are so many versions that like people will probably underestimate themselves and go, "Oh, I'm not creative." But actually, everybody is on a daily basis. It's just they don't kind of see that within themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Perfectly said. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I just see those things, the saying "you're not," as just a symbol that someone else gave them, that isn't really the truth, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when we start to look beyond those symbols and those beliefs that aren't, they're built on some false narrative that someone long ago said is true, it may or may not be true, right? So yeah,
Yeah, that's so
yeah.
true. But thank you so much for joining us today. But the last little question I want to ask, do you have any words of wisdom, words of encouragement that you think the viewers might like to hear today? It could be
Mm.
anything.
Yeah, I'd say seek your authentic self, because inside that all the answers, and um, have the courage to look beyond the symbols and the things you think are true, as
Mhm.
they're most likely not.
Love it. No, that's great. No, thank you so much for joining us today. Really means a lot.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.